I need to hear your voice. Anything exciting?
I just go add water.
Yep.
Change the name.
Everyone has that?
Nobody else can say it.
Now,
He's still thinking you're every year. I'm not having. Over there didn't bring your They wanted to kind of raise him up a little. Now raise the bar.
Anytime you bring Chippewas into the community, it just kind of brightens the day up for everyone.
Well, Stanley, the #1 community in Chippewa, or Chippewa County. Anyway, just as long as I get it by emails. Hey, for whatever it's worth.
But maybe cheaper to tear them down and then come up with something better.
Oh yeah, you gotta declare it.
I don't know.
That's be like the week.
yeah, it'll be back for 2 years.
Yes, it is.
There was that big push in
All these
2000, all the phones on, and automation, and then it kind of backlashed again. People started getting hiring.
I started my building today, so I got all these.
Yeah.
Took me a little bit before I could go.
I mean, you could ask him. He's
Took my boot off thinking I'd get around.
he knows them.
That ain't no good.
When is that? I don't know.
Come around either way, I got a golf cart you can turn around. As I found out. Supervised. Good. Keep everybody else working.
It's never gonna end.
How much did you win by?
Imagine though, I mean, just like a 100
Enough to get me here.
That's what my big one is.
But it's it just takes over a controller.
Oh, you asked Paul?
Chippewa.
Where you live?
Yeah.
You live in
Elkmont. Or Wheaton.
I just did that.
a little blackberry.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, Morse code? Yeah, Morse code. Back to Morse code.
It's just a new book.
Oh, you're hilarious.
Do they read it to me? CD?
No, it's from the different.
Sure.
How
You are probably. Oh, yeah.
for when you can't sleep and fall asleep.
What?
3 a.m. That's usually.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to call the organizational meeting of the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors for April 21st, 2026 to order. At this time, I'd ask you all to stand with me for the pledge of allegiance, moment of silence. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item is county board organizational item, certification of members. County Clerk Jacqueline Sadler.
I hereby certify that the following persons, having received the greatest number of votes for the office of County Board Supervisor in each respective district, for which each was a candidate on April 7th, 2026, are hereby declared to be elected to said office. Supervisory District 1, James Slater. District 2, Pam Goodman. 3, Dwayne Shoebridge. 4, Peter Gehring. District 5, Dennis Bachman. District 6, Timothy Gadel. District 7, Jason Bergeron. District 8, James C. Erickson. District 9, Joel Seidlitz. District 10, Matthew Peterson. District 11, Karen Lotz. District 12, Charles Bomar. District 13, Joseph Rochelle. District 14, David Kelly. District 15, Lee Hennick. District 16, Rocky Kempe. District 17, George E. Romeyer Jr. District 18, Daniel Hardy. District 19, Chuck Hull. District 20, Nina Isold. District 21, Carrie Ives.
The next item is the oath of office. At this time, I'd ask that Judge Isaacson administer the oath of office.
Good evening, folks. Look around the room today. I was on criminal intake. I don't recognize anybody. That's a good sign, right? So we're gonna do this en masse. Do it one time for 8 people who are here, I think. I'll have you come out individually and I'll notarize your signature and give you the seal. I'll give it back to Jackie. That work? Everybody stand up, please. Raise your right hand. Now, this is a little bit of a test. I'm gonna say, follow my words here. When I say I, state your name. Don't state your name. State your name. I, state your name.
I, Pamela Goodman,
Having been elected or appointed to
having been elected or appointed to
the office of County Board Supervisor,
the office of County Board Supervisor,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but have not entered upon the duties thereof,
swear or affirm I will
Swear.
support the Constitution of the United States,
swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
and discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Very good, thank you. I've got James Flater on top. Jackie, can I start with you? And I'll have you
Yep,
usher him out of the.
sure.
James Flater, please.
It should go in district order, so Pam. Congratulations.
I'll be ready.
Did we bring this one with us? Or?
No, that, the one on your desk was just yours as a copy. You can read it. I have the official one, so you can take this one. And then.
Oh, I see.
George, you're at the bottom. You're later.
She said you're later. Going in order of districts. So I'm last. So. What district are you in?
Also, don't get comfortable in your seats because this is not where you're gonna probably sit on Thursday.
So much for table health.
Pam?
Steal a pen. Yeah, you're really honest there. Go on.
Well, then I take
Yeah.
mine in.
Yeah,
See,
I-
'cause I have the
Yeah,
kids.
right here, see?
Official.
His official pen, I guess. Don't touch it. Oh, she's sitting over there because she doesn't.
I gotta use my.
Oh.
Yes. What? I know, no one has ever accused me of being quiet.
She jumps, she touches.
Shy.
I know.
You're the one who speaks. You can't. I got it.
This is something he actually likes to do.
Okay.
Joe?
Push an issue. Push an issue. Flipping papers, coupons, or what?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Congrats on everything. I think I got 7 write-ins against me. It wasn't the number one yet.
You probably come to. Yes, sir.
Don't trust other people with pictures.
All right, you're out of order.
I wanna know. Did you get some?
Okay, it's fine.
I think I got 11.
Yeah, just every time you do it wrong.
Yeah.
Rocky, one's ice cream.
I got 11.
One is a
I
good.
don't even go fight. And so that one time, you know, I think accelerate too quick. That one's right there.
They want the building
I've been nabbed about 12 times.
the outside. That's
So that is,
yeah, it's. I already got it from
One where I want to show you that, I bought a new.
from my rap guy. I bought the cooler and I went down to the church and did all. So I don't know.
Not this
Just tell him.
Well, right, we've been working on it.
picture directors get the names, interact with the people enough to get the, by instinct. Feels like there's a story behind this. Nope.
Not every meeting. Not every meeting.
Just stop. Yeah, that's.
Usually it's,
I'd love to see it once.
usually it's a lot more.
Probably.
That was very.
If you manage to. 125,000 Now, have you ever stopped? No. I think he's got stock in it or something. No, it's just good food. Especially if you don't get killed. Especially if you're hammered. Oh.
Chuck!
Nobody will buy me.
He's not used to being in the back.
You can't hear me way back there.
It's a certain time of the day. Nope. You can imagine they have
Dina?
Tina.
Either
And then Carrie.
Yep.
my own.
There's your next 2 years on that piece of paper.
For the last one. You can tell you're the.
Yeah. I went to get I want to. I know.
You should tell that.
Because of those pancakes. It tastes.
And just so everyone knows, for the record, Supervisor Gadel took his oath last Friday. He is still not feeling well enough to attend the meetings. But then Supervisors Bomar and Peterson are not in attendance as well. They're coming on Thursday to take their oath, and they'll be at the Thursday night meeting.
Much as I can.
Is that every?
So are those places better? There's not much trouble to be gotten. You don't.
Oh, much. Without a doubt. Oh, the torpedo isn't bad.
No, I
Go ahead.
Waffle House.
Are you ready to move ahead?
I think I've been to IHOP. Is that close?
Not even.
Jax, we ready to move ahead?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Ready?
If you ever go there, you watch.
Okay. Item number 3 is training on the Meridia Easy Vote system. Jackie Sadler.
All right, so most of you should know how to use these. However, some of you maybe still don't know how to use them, so we're going to go over that anyway. So in front of you, you have your little remote control. All right. The main buttons. Oh, I wasn't trying to put it up there. I was just putting that on my screen. I can't read that far away. So the main buttons that you will use on your remote are the 1A, which what was, is the green button. You're going to use that for roll call. So when you get here at the meetings, you'll push the green button. That will show that you are in attendance. When you want to speak on an item, you will also push the green button. Even though the screen during each item will say push 1 if you're speaking in favor of, or red if you're speaking against, we don't do it that way. Just please push your green button, because then it will put you in the order that you push the button so that the chair can call on you in the proper order. When it is voting time, the green button is yes, the red button is no, and the yellow button would be for abstaining. We will never use numbers 4 through 10. So this is what the roll call screen looks like when you get here, and we will do that here in a minute. So then, I don't know what I did. Let me get it over here and we can do roll call. This is what, you guys don't see all these screens normally. All right, so if you push your green button, point it, yep, point it at me. That's on one of my next. I just put new batteries in all of them, okay. And then once everyone is checked in, it will show everyone is green, and then the ones that are still gray are the supervisors that are absent. So we currently show that we have 18 supervisors here.
So we have a majority.
We have a majority. We can have our meeting. But if you, again, when we talk about requesting to speak, you'll see the item will be listed on the top. And then if you push your green button, you'll show in the speaker's queue. We will take you out of the speaker's queue when you are done speaking. When we are voting, when your name box turns from gray to blue, that means I have received your vote. A couple tips, which I'll quick go to there. Point the remote at me. There's a little receiver plugged into my computer here that receives the signal. If you point over at the screen, it does not come over here to me. So point it at me. If you look at the screen on your remote, there should be a little tiny R in the corner. Can you see that? It's really small. Push a button on your remote. Now, do you see it?
Nope.
Mine says okay.
Oh, wait, you gotta exit out of, nope, I just got a signal bar.
Yep.
Oh, okay. With the update, I think it went to a signal instead of an R then, because we just had an update. So if you see that little signal, that means your remote is working. But while you're during the meeting, your remote will fall asleep. So that's why sometimes your vote does not show right away, because when you push the button the first time, you're turning the remote back on. Then push the button again, and it will. If you push the button too many times, you're changing your vote. It will turn it on, take it off. So that's why sometimes you'll see it flashing on there. The big thing, which is the bottom one, is be patient. Especially when you guys like to make amendments and I have to type everything, or I have 6 screens that I'm flipping between and you're wanting to vote right away. You have to be patient. But if we go back, you can see during the voting, again, it goes from gray to blue. When we release the votes, people in green voted yes, red voted no, yellow abstained. Is there any questions? Perfect.
No.
Okay, the next item is approval of the agenda. Just a reminder, like Jackie said, to use your remote to request to speak during discussion of an item by pressing the green button. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Also move to approve.
Later seconds.
Got a motion and a second.
Wait, I didn't hear who did the second, sorry.
Later.
Later and lots. Any discussion? Okay, we'll go ahead and take the vote.
Get back to where we were. There you go. I'm going to release you, okay? 18 yes, 0 no.
The agenda has been approved. The next item is election of the chair. And just to let everyone know before we get started, I want to walk you through step by step how we'll be doing things tonight. First, I'll take nominations for the seated chair. You do not need permission to speak before making a nomination. You can speak aloud, but one at a time, please, so we're able to record them. You may nominate yourself. However, nominations are only valid if the person nominated is present. Nominations do not require a second. Once nominations have been recorded, each nominee will have the opportunity to come up to the podium and make a statement to the board not to exceed 5 minutes. If there are multiple nominations, we will determine the order for making statements by drawing nominee names out of a box. And then at that time, we'll ask for 2 volunteers who have not been nominated and have not nominated a supervisor to assist in drawing nominee names out of the box to determine statement order and to assist later in collecting the ballots that have been cast. Once all statements have been concluded, each supervisor will vote for their selection by secret ballot. A secret ballot will be used for the seat of vice chair as well. Once all ballots are collected, I'll read the name of the person voted for on each ballot out loud to the clerk. You're welcome to use the blank tally sheets that have been provided to you to follow along. And the election to each of the seats of chair, vice chair, and the 3 at-large executive committee members require a majority of the votes cast, those supervisors present. We have 18 tonight, so that would mean that it would require 10 votes. Once both the chair and vice chair are elected, the chair and vice chair will take their seats at the dais. And following the election of the 3 at-large executive committee members, the chair will conduct the remainder of the meeting. So essentially, for the vice chair, we'll just wash, rinse, and repeat that process. Is there any questions before we begin? Did I miss anything?
We'll be using the green slips for chair. And then the pink ones will be vice chair and the yellow are exec. We're on the green slips first.
No questions, okay. Seeing no questions, are there any nominations for the seat of chair?
Supervisor Flater nominates Jason Bergeron.
Supervisor Goodman would nominate Carrie Ives.
Are there any other nominations for chair? Going a second time, are there any other nominations for chair? Hearing none, nominations for chair are now closed. Supervisors Bergeron and Ives have been nominated for chair. Did either of the nominees wish to make a statement to the board prior to voting?
Yes, please.
Do each of you accept the nomination?
I do.
Supervisor Ives?
Yeah.
So at this time, I'd ask for 2 volunteers who were not nominated to assist with drawing names out of a box to determine the order for nominee statements. And then once chosen, to collect the ballots once votes are cast. Yeah.
Supervisor Bergeron was selected first, and then Ives was.
So the order is Supervisor Bergeron first and Supervisor Ives second.
Yep.
Supervisor Bergeron?
Thank you. Appreciate a few moments of your time here. I will be brief. Most of the people in this room know me, but for those who do not, my name is Jason Bergeron. I represent District 7, and I'm going into my 5th term here on the county board. I want to start out by saying thank you to everyone in District 7 for trusting me representing them for the next 2 years. And I want to say thank you to all the supervisors here present for stepping up and representing your community as well. This term, we're going to face a lot of issues that are known to us, but I believe we're going to face a number of issues that are not. They're not on our radar. And because of that, to approach both of those, we are going to need to be flexible. We're going to need to approach this in a team environment. All 21 supervisors will need to be engaged, representing their communities and helping to lead this county forward. We're not always going to agree on how to get from point A to point B, but that's to be expected given our different backgrounds, the different communities we represent, and the different perspectives we bring to the table. But I'm here tonight to make basically one promise to you, and it's the same promise that I made you last term when I asked for your vote as vice chair. And that's that regardless of if we agree or not, I will remain open-minded. I will bring everyone to the table, and we will all get a chance to represent our communities. The only way we move forward this term to address not only our challenges, but our opportunities are as a 21-person board. There's no other way that we find success without that. So again, I really appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight. I appreciate your consideration for chair of the board, and I look forward to what we can accomplish in the next 2 years. Thank you.
Supervisor Ives?
Yes, I'd just like to say thank you for the nomination. I'm not prepared. I don't have a speech. This is my 6th term on the board. I've been here since 2016. We've been through a lot of things, the strategic plan and things, and I like open and transparent thing. I am also a social worker by trade, so I like to listen to the whole story and what's best for everybody involved, the community that we serve, all of us, and everyone come to the table, and hopefully we can come with the best agreement for the people that we serve. So, thank you.
Okay, all nominees made their statements, so I believe we're ready to vote. Please write the name of the individual you're voting for on the blank green piece of paper that's been provided to you.
Hold it up when you're ready for the 2 supervisors to. Yep, so that way you can watch. Read it out loud. What do you? Okay.
Okay, got all the votes. Votes for chair are as follows. Bergeron. Ives. Bergeron. Bergeron. Ives. Bergeron. 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 Oregon. Bergeron. 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 Ives. Bergeron. Bergeron. Ives.
For Bergeron, 4, 5.
Okay, the total is 14 for Bergeron, 4 for Ives. Congratulations, Supervisor Bergeron.
We're back to low rent.
Okay. Next item is election of the vice chair. And again, like I mentioned before, we're going to use the same process. Anybody have any questions? Want me to repeat any of that process? Okay. Are there any nominations for the seat of vice chair?
Supervisor Latz nominates Joel Seidlitz.
Any more nominations?
Supervisor Supers nominates Karen Lutz.
Any more nominations? Second time, any more nominations? Okay, hearing none, nominations for vice chair are now closed. Supervisors Seidlitz and Lotz have been nominated for vice chair. Do you accept that nomination?
I accept.
I don't.
Supervisor Lotz declining that nomination.
Believe.
Okay. So now we have Supervisor Seidlitz been nominated for vice chair. Supervisor Seidlitz, do you wish to make a statement?
Yeah, I'd like to make a statement. I skipped through a bunch of stuff I was going to talk about, but I know a lot of people here don't know me besides being on the board, but I've been a local business owner for about 30 years here. I just want to assure all you guys sitting out here that we got one of the greatest boards in the county, and you guys, I mean, we got people from all roles of life out here. We can make great decisions with every one of you guys. We got, people representing the businesses in the area, law enforcement, previous law enforcement, we got ex-military people, we got farmers on this panel. We can make the hard decisions and solve some of the problems that are coming in for us. I hope, with that being said, I hope with all the unique talents that we have sitting in this room that we can get some of the brilliant women that are in this room up on executive committee and get them involved in a lot of the decision-making that comes to present stuff to this to this board here. I hope you guys, when it comes around to that time, it's been bypassed for many years, and I think we need to get the women's voices represented here on the county board. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for the nomination.
Okay, so it looks like we're ready to vote. Please write the name of the individual you're voting for on the blank piece of paper. It's pink. Write it to you.
You get water.
I can't break protocol.
I don't know.
I'm waiting for Pokemon over here.
Okay.
I was told I had to hand.
Yes, I did.
Me too.
You're good. As long as you can see.
Watch out.
Now?
That's it.
We have everybody? I'm not sure.
Do we have everybody's vote? Yes. Take that as a yes.
Get my abacus. Sidelets. 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 Lots. Blank ballot.
Yeah, sorry, got stuck with the other one.
Sidelets. 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 Seidlitz. Seidlitz. Seidlitz.
Oh, yeah, there is 18. Yes.
Okay, thank you. The votes for chair are 17 Seidlitz, for lots.
It was connected to the other one. Like folded it.
Congratulations, Supervisor Seidlitz. Give me if I spread here. Okay. Okay, the next item is election of the 3 at-large executive committee members. Process for nominations and election of the 3 at-large members will be much the same as for chair and vice chair with the following exceptions. Unlike the election of chair and vice chair, statements by nominees for exec committee will not be permitted. Ballots will not be secret. Each supervisor may vote for up to 3 supervisors from the nomination list and must sign their ballot. I'm going to repeat that. You must sign your ballot for it to be counted.
You have to read it.
They are not secret ballots. Once all ballots are collected, I'll read the name of the supervisors voted for on each ballot out loud to the clerk. If the votes result in any at-large seat not receiving a majority of the votes, those supervisors present, we will vote again to fill any remaining at-large seats. Are there any nominations for at-large seats for executive committee?
Kelly nominates lots.
Erickson nominates George Rollmeyer Jr.
Lee Hennig nominates Kerry Ives.
Karen Lotz nominates Joe Rochelle.
Supervisor Erickson will nominate Pete Gehring.
Any more nominations? Any more nominations for at-large seats? Hearing none, nomination for at-large seats on the executive committee are now closed. Supervisors Lotz, Rollmeyer, Ives, Rochelle, and Gehring have been nominated for the 3 at-large seats on the executive committee. At this time, I'd ask for the 2 volunteers who have not been nominated to collect ballots. I believe we're ready to vote. Please write the name of the individual you're voting for or individuals on the blank piece of paper provided.
No, wait,
You
stop.
you nominated someone, correct? Left some kind of replacement.
We have a volunteer who didn't nominate somebody
And is not nominated.
and is.
Pam?
George Solomon, hockey likes it.
Okay.
He's like best at this job.
We need, yep,
There you go.
okay. Todd? Supervisor Hall left. Thank you. That's our number now, 9 instead of 10.
Yeah, because he's not present.
Okay. Now it's 9 votes to win.
We're down to what's,
Now we're down to
17.
seven.
yes,
17.
9 votes.
9 votes would win. Yes.
Everybody make sure they sign their ballot. Yeah, you guys can verify votes.
Stand up here.
Yeah, didn't you?
Yeah, it wasn't Rocky that helped, right? You didn't.
Supervisor Kelly.
You did?
Would you come witness since you collected, please?
You did? Almost.
Yeah.
Here, because I have to be able to.
Yeah, I'll get out of your way.
Yeah. this- How do I keep track of
So again, you go, this is District 18. So then you go down here. And this is Eagle View 4.
names on there? I don't have mine on there. Do I need to do this or can I just watch?
I don't care.
You're the lawyer.
I actually have to do it.
Todd is just writing. That's what we're doing right now.
What was the first one?
So District 18.
Keep your focus.
Voted. And Roche. District 4. Gary. $19. 14. Here
Is 14?
is. Roche. $13. Voted lots. Ives. Roche.
Hang on.
Lots. Ives.
Okay.
Oh, sure, you can. But a 4.
16. Yep. What are people doing?
Looks like an 8.
Because sometimes we do. Math is not good. I was excited because I did the math right away. Sometimes our adding doesn't always add together.
I thought maybe it was because we didn't vote.
Well, there is that too.
You get to read aloud the vote.
I do.
Or wait a minute. Never mind.
Okay.
Okay, so results of the votes were Lots, 12 votes, Romeyer, 8 votes, Ives, 15 votes, Rochelle, 10 votes, and Gehring, 5 votes. So Supervisor Lots, Ives, and Rochelle are elected to the 3 seats.
I know. I know.
All right, so now we're going to move on to section 4 of the agenda. That would be parliamentary procedure training. That would be Todd Pauls.
When you're done.
Is there anything I needed?
Yep.
Okay, well, that was fun. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to all of you. I guess back to some of you, and welcome for the first time. I think 2 of you. So it is good to see a lot of familiar faces and a couple of new faces. So welcome. I should probably introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Todd Pauls. I'm Corporation Counsel. I have been employed in in some capacity with the Corporation Counsel's Office for 18 years. 12 of those have been as assistant corp counsel. The last 6 have been as corp counsels. So, I'm going to be honest, every moment I've been here has been pure bliss for me. Love it. Especially Charlie Walker back there makes my days so bright. For those of you who are newly elected, one of the duties that I have, as you can see, is to be the parliamentarian for the county board. So you'll be seeing me every month at the county board meetings, seated next to Supervisor Bergeron. I mean, seriously, honestly, I do have to say, though, it's truly an honor to serve the board. And I definitely look forward to working with all of you over the next 2 years. I don't know if everybody would, I may have some people who don't disagree with me, but I think I'm a pretty easygoing guy. And I really enjoy, my office is fairly close to the administrator's office, and most of you have to come through that hallway past my office to get to your mailboxes. So anytime, feel free to stop in, say hi. Anything that's on your mind, I'm willing to chat about, whether it's legal, parliamentary procedure, whatever. Feel free to stop in and say hi. As I mentioned, our office is a corporation counsel division. And we have 2 bright, talented deputy corp counsels, Brady Seidlitz and Sam Renner. And we also have an absolutely amazing legal assistant. Her name is Deb Blevins. She keeps us in line, and she's kind of the straw that stirs the drink in our office. Like I said, I'm glad to be a resource for all of your parliamentary questions and, of course, legal questions. And also, Sam and Brady are willing to help out if I'm not available. So again, stop in anytime. We're glad to help. I know this is probably the highlight agenda item for all of you tonight. I know that Supervisor Erickson told me that he did, in fact, drew a big highlight circle around his. So,
Point of my day.
Before I get started here, I do want to take a poll of the two new members that we do have. Have either of you had any exposure to parliamentary procedure, whether that's service on boards for a town, anything like that? So one of the 2 of you. Well, that's good. My goal is to provide you with the basics and the tools to get through your first board and committee meetings. And for our esteemed board member veterans who have suffered through this presentation more than once, just think of it as a refresh. So my goal tonight is to cover what parliamentary procedure is, the rules that we follow, how meetings are structured, and briefly some of the legal and procedural expectations of county board supervisors. And given that we do have a fairly large agenda tonight, I'm just going to be hitting the basics. So I fully expect that once you have experiences with committees and have a few board meetings under your belt, that you're more than likely that's going to generate some questions. And again, like I said, feel free to stop in. I always encourage you to do that before board meetings or committee meetings so that we're not wasting the time of the committee or the board trying to figure out parliamentary procedure during the meeting. Like I said, I'm a happy resource for any questions you have. Okay, let's jump in. Just to start, if you hear the words parliamentary procedure, you also hear rules of order. Those 2 terms are pretty much interchangeable. So they mean the same thing. So I don't want that to confuse you. I tend to call them rules of order. The definition of rules of order are the rules and precedents governing the proceedings of deliberate assemblies. If I'm not really that interested in it, but if at all any of you are history buffs or care, the term does have ties to England, and it was the name given to the rules and customs for carrying on business in the English Parliament. What is the purpose of the rules of order? Generally, their purpose is to provide us a framework and facilitate the smooth functioning of an assembly. In other words, it's a framework for meetings that keeps discussions orderly and business moving efficiently. So when we think of the rules of order, parliamentary procedure, we essentially have three sources that we derive our rules from. Those are the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Robert's Rules of Order, and the Wisconsin statutes and Wisconsin Constitution. As you can see in the diagram, the sources sort of have a hierarchy to them. So if you look at that, above all else, rules of order found in the Wisconsin statutes and the Constitution apply where county ordinances or Robert's rules conflict. And as you go down, county ordinances apply if Robert's rules conflict. So just keep that in mind. An example of like one of the rules of order you'd find in the statutes, the one that I thought of was, for example, with approval of budgets. There's a provision in the statutes that says that if there's an amendment to an already passed budget and that amendment occurs at a meeting after the actual budget meeting, it requires that have a 2/3 vote. So that's an example of the kind of procedural rules you'll find in the statutes. Because we're only scratching the surface here, I would encourage you to go to the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances to review the board rules. And for those of you who don't know, I think Jackie, there's a link on the homepage, Chippewa County Code.
Yep.
So right on the homepage, you can find that link, and that'll take you to the Code of Ordinances, and you just page down to Chapter 2, and they're all contained in there. Yep, there they are. So we're going to move on. We're going to start talking about actual meetings here. The first component of a meeting is you need to have a quorum. And as the slide says, a quorum is a majority of the entire membership of the body that's gathering to conduct government business, be it the county board, its committees, boards, or commissions. And so we've got 21 supervisors, so obviously in the case of the county board, that would a majority or a quorum would be 11 supervisors that would be needed to conduct business, government business. And then just as a reminder, in practice, if at any time there's not a quorum, someone leaves for whatever reason that causes there not to be a quorum, you should be stopping the meeting at that point and not conducting any further business. You should just shut the meeting down until you can get a quorum again. I believe that the chair, if we know that there's not a quorum prior to the meeting, and we need another person to create a quorum, that the board chair can act as that individual and fill in. So just remember that if you end up being a chair of a committee. The next part or component of a meeting, we need to have some sort of a framework to follow for the meeting, and that's called the order of business. The slide shows the template order of business the county follows for each committee and board meeting. This is what is the framework or the roadmap that's used to develop what's called the agenda for each of your meetings. And it, again, it's codified in Chapter 2. It's exactly the way it looks in the ordinances. So when we have agenda items, those end up being placed underneath each of those, the appropriate section there. I'm not going to go through all of the order of business. There's just a couple ones that I wanted to pull out just so everybody's aware. You'll notice that the order of business includes a members of the public wishing to be heard section. That allows the public to bring issues to the attention of the board. It doesn't have to be an item on the agenda. The comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker, and you do have to sign up prior to the start of the meeting. And then also the consent agenda. This item is comprised of any or all of the following items: the approval of the minutes and the mandatory zoning ordinances, at least now. That could always be increased or decreased depending on what the board decides. That is usually saved, the consent agenda, that is voted on all in one vote. Any of the items that are underneath the consent agenda, and that's for items that are fairly routine, so that we're not spending a ton of time on items that generally, mostly like approval of the agenda or that type of thing, are going to be approved. There is the ability, as it says on the bottom, if a supervisor does wish to pull one of those items out of there and consider it separately, they can make a motion to do that. Is that a majority vote? No, that's just a majority vote. As I said, I'm not going through all of these. These are the main ones. I will be talking about business items later on, but again, I'd encourage you to I did include all of them in the packet. I'm just not going to go through them all. So I encourage you to do that on your own leisure. The one that I think is probably most important for us to talk about is the business items. This is part of the order of business where I would say all the action takes place, literally. These are items that require the consideration and vote by the county board for approval. Under Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances, business items generally take 3 forms. They get before the board as a resolution, as an ordinance, or as a policy. And as you can see, Chapter 2 also requires a certain amount of readings, meaning that they have to come before the board a certain amount of times before they can be voted on. And so with resolutions, those require 1 reading, whereas ordinances and policies require 2 readings. There is an exception to that. There can be, a member can make a motion to suspend the rules and waive the second reading. However, that really should only be used in the case where it's pretty important that whatever item it is gets passed now. It needs to be passed right away. The whole purpose of having sometimes two readings for policies and ordinances is so that we can get a lot of the discussion out of the way, any questions, so that we know that we've got a good product before we vote for it, so that we're not coming to the second reading and having a lot of potential amendments that make things confusing.
What criteria, for example, would cause that to happen, to bypass the second reading?
There's no criteria really per se. It's just been kind of a rule of thumb we've followed that it should only be used in, you should be able to express a basis for it that, for example, we need this passed because there's, I don't know, Andy, can you think of a situation? It's got to be in time-sensitive, urgent matter.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. One other caveat to the readings rule is that amendments can be made at the first reading, but the final vote on an ordinance or policy can only take place at the second reading. Okay. Another component of, or how we get business items before the board for discussion, that's the motion. We know what business items are. They take three forms: a resolution, ordinance, policies. How do we procedurally get those before the board for discussion and action? And that's the motion. As it says, a motion is a formal proposal by a member that the assembly takes certain action. The basic form of a motion, the one which brings business before the assembly, is called a main motion. And here's a diagram that kind of shows what the procedure is for making a motion. Most main motions at the county board are to approve a resolution, as I said, an ordinance or a policy that's before them as a business item. It's important to remember that the function of making a main motion is only to get the business item before the board for discussion. Simply because you make a motion to approve whatever it is, a policy, an ordinance, or a resolution, doesn't mean you have to later on vote for it. You're simply, it's a procedural matter just to get it before the board for discussion. I want to make that clear because I've had that question asked me multiple times over the years. So, and then, as I said, the sort of the order for making a motion, you first need to obtain the floor, and you do that by requesting recognition from the chair. You then go ahead and make your motion. Example of that would be I, Supervisor Smith, move that, and then whatever that would be. In most cases, it would be to approve Resolution 2499 as proposed. The chair will then ask for a second for that motion. Once we have a second, the chair will then indicate that there's a motion to approve Resolution 2499. The chair will restate what the motion is, and then the chair will ask if there's any discussion, any questions, and at that point, the body, the motions is in charge of the body, and there can be debate. A few more considerations for motions. As I said, you first need to be recognized by the chair. It's not before the body until it's stated by the chair, and we'll talk more about where that comes into play with withdrawing a motion later on here or coming up, it's okay to preface the motion with some explanation, but we try to make, I encourage you to try to make the motion as concise as possible. It makes it so that there's less questions. It allows the board to know exactly what they're voting on. We don't want it to become a speech. So like I said, so the steps for considering the motions. Once there's been discussion, the chair will ask if there's any more discussion. If not, the chair will put the question to a vote. Once we have the vote, the chair will announce the result of the motion, whether it's passed or not. I'm going to go back one here. With regards to withdrawing a motion, there may be some times that you make a motion and you, as soon as you said it, you think, oh man, why did I make that? That makes no sense. In that case, if you realize that right away, upon recognition by the chair, the member who made the motion can modify or withdraw the motion without the consent of any other supervisor or the chair. However, if the motion's been made, it's been seconded, and it's been stated by the chair, at that point, the only way that the motion can be withdrawn is by consent from the body. And usually that's done by the chair. The chair will ask the body whether it's, is there any objections to Supervisor so-and-so withdrawing their motion? If there's not, then that person can withdraw their motion. If there is, there would need to be a motion made to withdraw. That would be considered by the entire board, a formal motion. Okay, so we know that there's a main motion. There's also several other motions that are called subsidiary or secondary motions. Those are ones that can be made after a main motion is before the board, and they tend to have an effect on the main motion. The slide shows the most common secondary motions. These are the ones that I've seen used the most over the years, some of them way more than others. There's a lot of different kind of motions you can make, but for our purposes, these usually will cover our needs. In the interest of time, I'm only going to cover a few of them. I'm going to cover the motion to amend, the motion to lay on the table, the motion to postpone indefinitely, and the motion to postpone definitely to a time certain. And I chose those because those tend to be the ones that people have the most confusion about. And specifically the motion to lay on what the difference between the motion to lay on the table, the motion to postpone indefinitely, and the motion to postpone definitely are. Notice that my slide left out motion to postpone definitely. I can thank AI for that. Had a bit of a issue there. So starting with the motion to amend, a motion to amend modifies a pending motion. Before that pending main motion is acted upon. So for example, I move to amend the motion or it could be a resolution, a policy, or an ordinance as proposed by so-and-so. By one, you could insert or add words to it. You can delete words, or you can delete and insert words. And before you make a motion to amend, sometimes I would encourage actually maybe writing it out so it makes sense to you before you actually go ahead and voice that, so we don't have to deal with having to withdraw the motion. Try to make it as succinct as possible, and we try to, when you're amending something, to try to reference specific items of the proposal. One of the key points for motions to amend are that they require a second, but they do allow discussion just the same as any main motion. And if the amendment is approved by the body, which is by a majority vote, the main motion is then taken up again as amended by the approved amendment. And as you can see, once we start having amendments, things get kind of a little confusing. I know a lot of us have been through that before. And the other thing that can happen here is that amendments themselves also can be amended. And when we have essentially two amendments going, things really, it's like trying to interpret an algorithm or something, and things just get really messy. So I don't advise it unless it just can't be avoided. A lot of times there's other sort of things you can do to avoid amending an amendment. If any of you are ever thinking of that prior to a meeting, feel free to stop in. We can maybe talk about what is maybe a cleaner way to amend a proposal. Okay. We skipped a motion to reconsider. The next one's the motion to lay on the table, or as it's sometimes called, to table an item. What I've found is that it's commonly misused in place of the motion to postpone indefinitely or to postpone to a time certain, which we'll talk about those next. It's only in order if some other issue is other than the one at hand is pending and needs, or if some issue other than the pending matter needs urgent attention. So it's got to be kind of an urgent thing. In addition, there has to be an intent to pick up the pending matter later in the same meeting. And if adopting the motion to lay on the table halts consideration of the matter laid on the table, it does so without debate. You can't discuss that matter that's being laid on the table at that point. Then there's the motion to postpone indefinitely. That one, I think I've only seen maybe a couple times. A lot of times that's used to have taken a vote on a pending matter. For example, sometimes it might be used by someone to test the strength of a pending matter that they oppose. And it can also be useful in disposing of badly chosen main motions that can't, for whatever reason, can't either be adopted or rejected without undesirable consequences. It does require a second and a majority vote, and if approved, it kills the main motion. And then I've seen this one a little more than the others, the motion to postpone indefinitely or to a date certain. That's a motion by which the pending question can be delayed. And again, it's by majority vote. And it's often used whenever the mover wants the membership to have more time to consider the question under discussion to a definite time or day and have it come up for further discussion. Sometimes we'll see this at the committee level. There'll be discussion on an item. Discussion will go long. A lot of times the committee may want to sort of take a break from it all, think about what's been said in that meeting, and bring it up at the next meeting, put it back on the agenda for the next meeting. And you can do that with a motion to postpone to a certain date, time, a meeting. That would be when that would be used. As it indicates, though, that the motion can't just be used to simply postpone something, be out of order. There's got to be a basis for actually postponing the matter. Okay, enough of the motions. Let's talk about decorum in debate. A lot of this is just really common sense. But I think, sometimes you're going to have some discussions on items that, face it, there's an emotional content to it. It's something you may have strong feelings about, and that's okay. That's just fine. But an important consideration is that you refrain from attacking a member's motive. Each member is entitled to his or her own opinion, and I think it's good to focus debate on the idea, not the person. Another is to make sure that you're maintaining a courteous tone. An unconscious sort of mistake I see happen fairly routinely is that supervisors sometimes make their remarks to another supervisor on the board. They'll be facing them when all remarks should be made to the chair. That helps us to focus on the issue and not the person. We don't want anyone feeling as if they're being singled out or make them uncomfortable. So all remarks should be made to the chair. You should use titles such as supervisor so-and-so, not names. And then you should always try to make sure that your remarks are germane to the motion or to the item that's being discussed. We don't want to get too far off track, and that's a big thing that can cause some open meeting violations because we can only talk about what's been noticed to the public on the agenda. And if our remarks start straying from that item on the agenda, we're potentially talking about something that hasn't been agended. So we try to keep that, all of your remarks, as germane to the item as possible. And I should say, just in general, rules like decorum, there's certain rules that it doesn't matter whether it's the board or a committee, but some of the parliamentary rules are a little more relaxed at the committee level, just because it's a smaller group. It's a lot easier to dispense with some of the formalities, and it's just more efficient. Obviously, in terms of decorum, we should treat everybody the same, regardless of whether it's county board meeting or a committee meeting. But if there's the reference, to a first name, that's not a big deal. least I wouldn't consider that. And then we have the decorum of the chair. These were considerations I thought were important for how the chair should conduct him or herself during meetings. One is that the chair should not speak in debate. The chair is the facilitator of the meeting. He's kind of like the maestro of the orchestra. The maestro's job is to keep the orchestra on cue, not to play an instrument. Likewise, the chair's job is to guide the board and keep the board focused and not to engage in debate. That's not to say that the chair can't engage in debate should he choose. He has the right to do that because he's a member of the body. However, if the chair does choose to enter into discussion on an item, the chair should relinquish the position of chair to the vice chair for the remainder of that agenda item. Public wishing to be heard, not really, we already kind of went through that one. I'm not going to talk about closed sessions. I think that's a little bit beyond with the time that we have tonight. With communication items, we used to have, was it called communication? We had an actual item on it in the on the agenda called communication, and what we ran into was someone bringing in a letter or under that agenda item saying, you know, someone in the community told me this or that, and start talking about an item that isn't actually on the agenda, and to actually start really discussing in depth whatever that person had heard or what they'd received in a letter. And that's, again, it's a potential open meetings issue because it hasn't been noticed to the public. So what we've done is we've set up a reports items for any kind of communications. If you want one of those, something that you've received in a letter or whatever on as a report, we can do that. You just need to let the chair know before the meeting and before the agenda goes out. So, that can be noticed with the agenda to the public. I'm going to skip future agenda items. I'm going to touch just briefly on ethics because I know I'm running short of time here. You'll notice that I've included a few slides in the presentation. Code of ethics for county board supervisors can be found at Article 5 of Chapter 2 in the Code of Ordinances. I'm not going to go into depth on Chapter 2 at this point. So if any of you, once you've had a chance to review that, have questions with me or for me, please give me a call or send me an email, and whatever you prefer. One area of that, though, that I think is important enough to address tonight that directly affects all of you is conflicts of interest. And that's under section 2-187. You should read that and understand what types of potential conflicts of interest you might run into based on your circumstances. And depending on what an item is on the agenda, you may want to look back and consider section 2-187 to determine whether or not you potentially have a conflict of interest that would prevent you from participating in discussion in voting on a particular agenda item. One thing I'm more than willing to discuss to try to work through those, but in the end, all of you as supervisors need to determine for yourself whether you have a conflict or not. And depending on whether you do, there's something called an abstention that can be used if you believe that you do have a potential conflict of interest. An abstention is a motion to excuse, and this is under our board rules. It's a motion to excuse a member from voting. All motions to excuse a member from voting shall be made before calling the ayes and nays on the question pending, and any member wishing to be excused from voting shall make a brief verbal statement of the reason for making such request, and the question shall then be taken without further notice. I know it says it's fairly vague in terms of, or broad in terms of when that motion should be made. It says before the calling the ayes and the nays. It should actually be done at the time that the chair of the committee or the board announces the item. Before you get in discussion, you should be making that motion to abstain at that time. That way, it just makes things cleaner. You're not discussing the item, you're not voting on it, and you again, you should also just make a brief statement of why you believe you have a conflict of interest and are abstaining. That's all I have. Again, please come to us with any specific questions you have. My door is always open. I would rather have you, as I mentioned before, looking for answers to questions before the meeting. It's just much more difficult to deal with when we're in actual meetings sometimes. I like to be able to give you good answers, and sometimes I can't do that during the meeting because I have certain other responsibilities I have to attribute my time to, and I want to make sure that you get the best answer. And with me doing it at the last second is probably not, it's sometimes hard. Sometimes it's unavoidable. In the middle of a meeting, I'm going to need to clarify something, but if it's possible, if you think of it before the meeting, let's try to take care of it then. So, any questions?
Would your office make available hard copies for anyone who wants it in the board?
Of the presentation? I certainly can do that.
It's a lot to chew on. I'd like to personally read it.
Sure, if you want to just send me an email, I can certainly do that. We're trying to cut down on paper, but I understand it's a little bit hard to follow on an iPad.
I actually want to keep it with me all the time.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. We will move on to number 5 in our agenda, and that is the consent agenda. I would look for a motion to approve.
Lots will approve.
Lots, and I have Kelly second. Any questions, concerns, edits? All right, hearing none, we will take the vote. Green to approve, red to approve. Oh, the halt's right. Okay, guys, release the vote.
17 yes, 0 no.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're on to members of the public wishing to be heard. We have one person signed up, a Jamie Lato. Please come to the podium. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Jamie Leto. I reside at 3080 55th Avenue, Elk Mound, Wisconsin. Members of the board, I'm here today because the public's right to access government records is being blocked and delayed in a way that violates the Wisconsin open records law. This is not about me personally. This is about the public right to transparency and the public's right to know how its government operates. Over the past several weeks, I've submitted multiple open records requests. The law requires these records to be provided as soon as practical and without delay. Instead, every one of my requests have been diverted away from the legal records custodian and placed under the control of the county attorney. County attorney is not the custodian. His role is to defend the county, not to control access to public information. When the office responsible for protecting the county from liability also takes control of the records, that may reveal procedural issues or conflicts. It creates a built-in conflict of interest. It undermines neutrality, and it undermines transparency, and it undermines public trust. Every one of the requests is now past the legal response time again. None have been processed by the proper records custodian. None have been handled according to statute. None of them have accompanied by a lawful explanation for the delay. These are routine records that should be readily accessible. Instead, the public is being denied access to information that belongs to them. I also want to raise a serious concern that affects public safety and public confidence. Incidents that occurred at my property fall under a 6-year statute of limitations, although these cases are closed. It's been since July or September of 2024. So the public deserves to know, was the district attorney ever even notified, and was any review ever conducted? And if not, why not? If required notifications were not made, that raises additional concerns about whether the system is functioning the way the public expects it to. I am documenting every missed deadline, every improper rerouting, and every breakdown in procedure. The longer this continues, the more it becomes a pattern, and patterns matter. They show whether a government body is committed to transparency or committed to avoiding it. Now I want to address the board directly. Now that you're aware of all these issues, each of you has a duty in your position and to the public to ensure that this is addressed. You cannot claim to support transparency while ignoring clear evidence that the process is being mishandled. You cannot claim to serve the public while allowing the public's right to information be blocked. And if you choose not to act after being made aware of all these issues, then you are choosing to allow the violations to continue, and choosing to allow it makes you complicit in the failure to uphold transparency. I also want to make everything and something in this very clear. Federal discovery covers every lapse in this process. If this continues, federal discovery will require full disclosure of these records anyway. The timelines, the internal handling, and the decision-making behind the delays, nothing can be hidden in that process. You have a remedy available right now to prevent it from reaching that point, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. No one has involvement with any matters that are of concern in the public. So, as I will say this plainly, do the right thing, no matter what the consequences. This is your duty to the public. So today, I'm formally requesting written answers to the following. Why were my open records requests diverted away from the legal records custodian? Who authorized the county attorney to take control of these requests? Why are all my requests past the legal response time without proper explanation and legal explanation? When will the proper custodian resume their statutory duties? Was the district attorney ever notified about the incidents on my property? If not, why not? What steps will the county take to ensure compliance with Wisconsin open records law going forward? And what actions will each member of this board take now that you are aware of all these issues? The public deserves these answers. The public deserves transparency, and the public deserves accountability from every official who serves them. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to put these into the record. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to reports. There's nothing from the county administrator. Department reports. We have monthly statement of claims filed.
In your packet, you'll see there were 2 claims filed since our last county board meeting. If you have any questions on either of those claims, please reach out to the Corporation Counsel.
There are no general reports. So we'll move on to 8, business items. Resolution 10-26, resolution to declare May 4th through 8th, 2026 as Chippewa County Economic Development Week.
Resolution 10-26, resolution to declare May 4th through the 8th, 2026 as Chippewa County Economic Development Week. Now therefore be it resolved that the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors does hereby declare that Chippewa County, Wisconsin, welcoming and supportive of local entrepreneurship, and declare that Chippewa County, Wisconsin supports the activities and efforts of the Chippewa County Economic Development Corporation and recognizes its 34 years of service to the citizens of Chippewa County, and declare May 4th through the 8th, 2026 as Chippewa County Local Economic Development Week, and commend all Chippewa County elected officials, staff, and economic development organizations for their hard work and dedication in assisting and building our local economy, and remind citizens of the importance of the economic development profession in advancing career opportunities and improving the quality of life of Chippewa County, and proclaim that it shall be a goal to grow the economy of the Chippewa County by developing the local workforce, partnering with local business organizations, and by capitalizing on investment opportunities that strengthen Chippewa County communities. And be it further resolved that the county clerk is authorized and directed to transmit a certified copy of this resolution to the Chippewa County Economic Development Corporation, forwarded to the county board by the Economic Development Committee.
I would look for a motion to approve.
Later, so moves.
Slater and Hennick seconds. All right. Andy or Mr. Walker?
Ceding my time to Charlie Walker.
All right.
Mr. Chair, congratulations. Board members, congratulations. Welcome to Economic Development. Please mark your calendar for May 15th, the week after. That's the Friday after Economic Development Week. Everyone is invited, 7:30 in the morning at the Country Jam grounds to hear a keynote speaker about that. Economic Development Week is just a great week that we are going to be, we talked about transparency, going to be open, talk about what we're doing in economic development, and celebrate the hard work. For those newly elected officials, the county staff are fantastic. I have been in economic development for 20 years, and I can tell you the county staff is just crackerjack and the best at what they do. It is a team sport. We're all in it together. And this week celebrates that, so I can answer any questions that you might have about that. Except for Jim.
Not except for Jim.
Yeah.
If you have questions, please use your remote. Seeing none, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, seeing no questions, we will call the vote. Here he comes.
You gotta vote. Come on, Dave. Come on, I have it so bad. What do you think?
Everything.
17 yes, 0 no.
Passes unanimously. All right, we'll move on to business item number 2, ordinance 05-26, ordinance to amend section 58-39, parent C of the Chippewa County Court of Ordinances designating all-terrain and utility terrain vehicle routes. This is a first reading. Mr. Elstrand, give us an overview.
Okay. If approved, these ordinance amendments, section 5839C of the County Code of Ordinances will authorize creation of 4 additional segments on the county highway ATV routes on county highways B, M, O, and Q. New route on County Highway B in the town of Tilden, be 120th Street to 130th Street. It's a distance of 0.78 miles. Number 2, this has been amended from what the original Highway Committee meeting approved. There was an error that we found. Basically, this now opens up County Trunk Highway M. The new route on County M in the town of Sampson. The original ordinance had 105th Avenue. It should have read 100th Street west to the Barron County line. That's a distance of 3.3 miles. The error we found was we had a gap in there from 100th to 105th Street to 40, State Highway 40. So this corrects that. It was signed correctly. It just the ordinance was not. Number 3, a new route from County Highway O in the town of Anson from 175th Street east to 178th Street. That's 0.5 miles. And a new route on County Trunk Highway Q in the town of Tilden from 118th Avenue west to County C. The distance is 0.5 miles. These routes have all met the county safety criteria and are recommended for approval by the Highway Department.
What questions do we have for the Highway Commissioner?
I should add, there's no cost to the county for the signing. That's borne on by the clubs.
I just want to say
Supervisor Kempe, yes.
I'm very familiar with all these routes and very avid in ATV stuff, and I do agree with all these. They're all been needed for quite a long time. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Any other questions or statements? This is a first reading. We will not vote on this until next month. All right, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Elstrand.
Might as well just stay right.
Yeah, you might as well stay right there. The next one up is Ordinance 0626, Ordinance to amend Section 58-31 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances regarding speed zones. First reading.
Okay, this is the Highway Department supports a request from the City of Stanley to lower the speed limit on County Highway O from Fandry Park to West 8th Avenue from 35 miles an hour to 25 miles per hour. This amendment implements a February 2nd, 2026 vote by the City of Stanley Common Council to request a speed limit change. An additional speed study is not necessary because a 25 mile an hour speed limit is the lowest legal statutory limit within the city corporate limits. To formalize this change, this amendment will update Section 5831 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances to reflect the new speed zone. Basically, this takes a 25 mile an hour zone out past the park, out to 8th Avenue. In doing this, we are going to retain the 35 mile zone from 8th Avenue, 1,500 feet to the west, and that gives us a speed step down.
What questions do we have? Supervisor Hennick, next time the button, please.
How much notice are you going to give so people get used to it?
I guess that's a good question. I mean, typically it'll be signed. The 35 zone is basically where that starts, is where it always did start. It's just going to step down to 25 right on at the Y at 8th Avenue. I can work with the City of Stanley because it's in their city limits, and we can flag up signs or do whatever we can do.
Flagging some signs. Give them a leeway of a week or two, or.
Yeah, I mean, that would primarily is going to be up to the City of Stanley. They're the ones that are going to enforce it more so than the county.
Technically, from the time we vote and publish it, it's law. So, Supervisor Erickson.
Yeah, to Lee's question, the Stanley Police Department in the past has been very liberal with that, as far as understanding it just doesn't flip a switch overnight. The other thing I wanted to mention is that out there,
We now have a new community center that kind of falls into that area. We have a big tractor pull and horse pull out there, so I think people are going to be surprised that it's going from 35. I think it's always been kind of assumed it's 25 out there, so I don't see any problems with what Lee mentioned and with all the activity that goes on out there now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can add quickly that one of the reasons that the city is asking for this is they are working on bike and pedestrian access out there, so.
That's right.
Are there any other questions? Again, this is a first reading. We will not vote on this until next month. Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We will move on then to county administrator appointments. First one being county administrator appointment for the Human Resources Director. Any motion put on the floor? Look for a motion to approve the appointment.
Kelly makes that motion.
Lots will second.
Motion and a second. Andy, Mr. Alvarado.
Yes, with the vacancy in the Human Resources Director position, we conducted a recruitment. It was a good recruitment. We had a number of qualified applicants. It was a good pool to be able to select from. With that, we were putting forth the appointment of Jessica McDonald as our next Human Resources Director. You have the bio in your packet, but I'll just highlight that she is a veteran, started her career in social work before she went into human resources. She's been the human resource professional with Burnett County and the human resource director with Eau Claire, and is currently in Jackson County, where she is also carrying the interim administrative coordinator title. We think she'll be a good fit here with us in Chippewa County. And happy to put her forward for your approval.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, we will call the vote. Lisa.
17 yes, 0 no.
Approved unanimously.
Mr. Chair, she is with us tonight, and usually invite her up to.
Yes, would you like to come up and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the moment to speak. I do want to be respectful of your time. You guys had quite the ambitious agenda this evening for your organizational meeting. So again, thank you. Thank you to Administrator Alvarado, and thank you to the board. I did prepare 2 intros for you tonight. I have 1.5 page, and then I also have my cliff notes. So that's what I'm going to kind of go off of. So again, thank you so much for allowing me a moment to speak. And I do appreciate your trust, and I look forward to working within and for Chippewa County. By way of background, again, I do bring several years of public sector HR experience with a focus in labor relations, compensation, policy development, and so on and so forth. My approach is centered on balancing the organizational needs and the best interests of the organization as a whole, as well as our employees and their families. As I step into this role, which will not be until June 8th, mind you, so I have to give good service to Jackson County in my departure, and I want to do as much of a soft handoff as possible, and I'm certain that you folks can appreciate that. So my goal in stepping into this role is to be a trusted advisor for you folks, and as well as the department heads, fostering that workplace engagements and respectful and supportive collaborative work with one another. My approach is simple. I am accessible, I'm responsive, and I work very diligently to build strong relationships. My initial priority will be getting to know the organization and its people. I only know what I can read in headlines, and on the outside looking in, I can dig into your policy manual and your ordinances and your county board minutes and all of that, which I've done hours of already, but I will not know you folks and what the organization needs until I get in the seat and start having conversations and attending meetings and listening to everything that you folks are providing. So I am looking forward to being a part of an HR team. I am looking forward to being a part of the leadership team and being a part of something that helps support you folks in making informed decisions so that you can do your best to serve your constituents in the manner that you were elected to do. That is not the way any of these Cliff Notes went, actually, but I had a little something there. I'm happy to answer any questions if you folks have any. Otherwise, again, I'll be on board June 8th. I intend on reaching out and being available and filling up my calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
All right, next one here on county administrator appointments. We have county administrator appointment for ad hoc EMS study committee member. Look for a motion to approve.
Goodman will make that motion.
Bill, second. All right.
So the EMS ad hoc committee is diligently doing their work. We did have a resignation of Adam DeWitt, who was serving as our EMS representative for the rural area. And so we were putting forth Eugene Gutsch, who's with the Wheaton Town Board, as well as the Wheaton Fire and Rescue, as the replacement on the EMS ad hoc committee.
Do we have any questions? All right, seeing none, we will call the vote. It's a vote.
17 yes, 0 no.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, we've hit the 2-hour mark, and before we power through the last 3 agenda items of orientation, let's just take 5 minutes. If we need to get a drink or use the restroom, just a 5-minute break. We'll meet back here.
Because the R came up on my remote and I was playing with it. I didn't want to talk. No, the R came up. I did want to tell you. Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yeah. Been contemplating about this. I think he wants lemonade.
I think I have 2 boxes left. Oh.
Just one.
I can bring you a box of.
Unless you want to say, I know your husband really wants them off the garage.
No, I've been lucky. Like, Mel from Registered Deeds, like, give me 10 boxes. I was like, oh. Another
Try
one.
it, and then got a roll with that box.
Well, my daughter. I never said that. You like that one.
I don't remember if I like the Adventure Bros or not.
I have a lot of those. They're kind of like a brown, but they're crunchy. Because they it's crunchy, right? Heard other people microwave like a couple seconds. It's a little
I don't know. Got a bunch of them to sell too.
Lemon and ventricle.
Sure.
You gotta see what David was because he.
I guess I could
Track
text
him
you
down.
too.
Track him down. What'd you say? Ventricle. Bring it on. Thursday. I wanna go. These are pretty.
3 of us, these things over Zoom.
You go.
Perfect. They're all under control. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah.
So when were you here?
I have a gift certificate for a new place.
Yeah, so I.
Sam, think he's.
Are you gonna take over those?
Do you think he's? That's okay.
He was.
Got his own.
He passed away.
And he has to come back on Thursday.
It was very interesting.
City clerk.
That is.
Well, at that point. They paid you more, right? Oh, yeah. At that point, I knew more about the village than anybody else. So
Yeah,
I
so-
mean, I understand that.
Todd's got a lot of favorite things now.
Was
Get a little better. You sure can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. It does that door, the hallway by my office, the break room on the lower level. Nope, you can't get that far. You can't get that far. You can just return a car if you needed to. That's as far as you get. It doesn't go that far in. My locked door.
Done.
Just got 2 or 3 of them out.
Yeah, I tried to talk.
Would you like another one?
Didn't have it.
I thought they were gonna give me.
For us that did have them. Have fun.
Yep. No.
Actually, let me take those pictures.
Thank you.
Yep. I really like this. That's my work picture, that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they'll even be able to make it and I can get through.
Well, I think I'd rather get I think that they had done a laminated picture thing, so maybe they'll do that for us.
Co-pilot. That's
No, yeah.
so bad.
It takes a little bit.
It takes quite a bit.
Yeah.
gonna say, especially families.
Are you like? No, but it's going to. Okay. Same.
So quick.
No, I
I said it
Eagle.
too.
What?
Well, I know that's.
Over here.
Yeah.
First thing,
It'll help like once the committee is meeting.
There's no stress. Yeah.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because the hope is that your committee.
Believe me. If I wasn't on.
Not saying that we don't still have questions.
Oh, wait, I have to stand here.
Yeah, that's important too.
Good luck with it.
I know. I think
Back
it's very
from
good that I.
committee meetings, if I have
Like-
questions, see if I can.
Because no one is going to listen to me.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I want to go home.
What now?
Then I'm last on the agenda. Did we decide the time? Yep.
Quite a bit on a couple of things.
I can do 9.
9's which font?
He said,
9 works for me.
Would like to jump
afterwards.
Okay.
I booked the
Okay.
conference, but you know, I just.
So you just plug it in,
I just
That there's other.
just plug it into
I
AI?
like to.
Just plug it into AI? Oh,
I expect you to come in with them all set.
I'd say I was working pretty good for him.
I mean, that was discussion. You should have said.
What's that? Oh, yeah, that's what I got to, but I try to keep mine off, but
all right, let's start taking our seats, could we, please?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but.
Congratulations.
Try to keep.
They're going to want to listen to me.
All right, we're going to move into section number 10, County Board Orientation Phase 1. Number 1 is County Operational Update. Supervisor Albert, or Administrator Albert.
Good evening. For those who don't know, I'm Andy Alvarado, the County Administrator, closing in on the 1-year mark with my tenure here at Chippewa County. Feels like it's been years, so I think it's good. And for those who don't know, Tracy Bremnes is the Assistant to the Administrator. She's choreographing all the information you see tonight and working, also the Assistant to the Board as well. So if you're not familiar with her, you will be quickly. So what I'm going to do is just kind of, not fly, but I'm going to give you the high-level operational update. Most of you know most of this at some level. For our 2 new supervisors, I'll reach out to you at some point to do a one-on-one meeting with you. I'm going to give you a few weeks, though, to get immersed and absorb everything you've heard, and it'll make more sense when we talk, after you've had a little bit of introduction to county operations. So those are the items we're going to cover in here. So I'll just jump into, we do have a county strategic plan. There it is. It's on the back wall. Kind of gives us some guidance on when we are looking for priorities of services, budget, things we're doing at the county. It was done in 2020 or adopted in 2020. So anticipating that later this year, we've got a couple things we're working on now. When those are done, like the EMS ad hoc committee, once we get the budget fairly well done for next year, we'll jump into updating the strategic plan. I'll be talking to the executive committee about whether we're going to look at an update or a whole new plan. If you look at the plan as it reads, it's, not really out of date necessarily, communicating with the public, additional revenue sources for funding needs of the county, improving access to mental health and drug treatment, maintain and proactively address water quality, support economic development. All still very relevant. So I don't know that we need to completely start over, but certainly it's due for an update. Organizational structure, you can kind of see this is how the county's laid out. Todd gave you some of that based on how statutes and our ordinances guide some of that. But really it starts with the citizens. And I'm sorry this is small, but we have one block of our elected officials like the county clerk, the clerk of court, the register of deeds, the treasurer, sheriff, the coroner. We got them all. They are statutorily constitutional officers. They have their own duties as assigned by statute. I still consider them department heads. They're operating with our county staff, but largely they report to a committee, but they do their thing based on statute. We also have the 3 branches of the judicial arm of the county. They're elected as well, as is the district attorney. Again, they're doing what the statutes in the Supreme Court tell them they can do or what their duties are. And then we're here with the county board chair and vice chair are your leadership. And then you're put onto committees, either elected to the executive committee or you'll be assigned appointments that you'll find out about on Thursday. And those committees effectively help set the policy for how the county operates on a day-to-day basis. That's what I use to guide my management of the day-to-day and what the department heads use working with their overseeing committees to navigate the needs and the services and the mandates that we have to deliver services. This is kind of a rehash a little bit of some of the things you already saw in the Corporation Council's presentation, but we are guided first by state statutes. Chapter 59 deals with counties. In there, you'll find that there's different structures that a county can have. You can elect a county executive, you can appoint a county administrator, admin coordinator, and you can also choose to be a home rule county, self-governed. That's the route that Chippewa County chose years ago, was to be a self-governed or locally organized county, which is why a lot of what you and I operate under is found in Chapter 2 of our county ordinances. That's our framework that the county decided to operate. And so ordinance guides are how we run the county, as well as how the county in general is managed. And then you also have resolutions, policies, and procedures that we'll work with you on to adopt that helps guide the day-to-day operation of the county. So roles and responsibilities, and I'll touch a little bit on this. You are going to get a presentation on Thursday from Sarah Diedrich Kasdorf from the Wisconsin Counties Association. That'll dive a little bit deeper into the roles and responsibilities of the board. But effectively, you are the policy leaders. You're the setters of the policy. It really starts here. The budgets, the county administrator's role is to present you a balanced budget in the fall, and then you have to approve a budget. That's what we operate on in the following year. Policies are presented here, ordinances. We just heard a couple from the highway department that they have started with the commissioner to the highway committee and then come to the board for final approval after the 2 readings. Committee chairs help set the agendas for the overseeing committees. They should be in step with the department head and vice versa. That communication is important to know what's happening within the departments and then what things will happen at the committee level. Committee chairs really run the meeting. You're responsible to kind of have a cohesive group of supervisors that are participating in the meeting and ultimately making decisions. The agenda packets here come out generally a week ahead of time, and they're to have all the information you need to understand the issues that are being presented, give you a little time to digest them and then ask questions. It's helpful to ask questions about agenda items in advance of the meeting so that staff can come prepared to address those things or get you information ahead of the meeting so that you can have good debate, good conversation with the other board members if there's a decision to be made. The ultimate authority in all policy and development is the county board for countywide issues, and then the committees are there for items pertaining to specific departments. You're going to hear about open meetings and open records on Thursday with another presentation from Corp Counsel. We'll advise just to be cautious of that. We don't need walking quorums or things like that going on. You have access to the employee portal. That's where most of the county policies can be found. The clerk already displayed today where all the ordinances are found online as well. And then you can use the website to access other information like minutes and agendas. I would just say, having worked in a number of counties, this is the best by far of a transparent government where you can find just about everything you would need to understand county operations on the web, as can the public. And so I think they take a lot of pride in that here. I take a lot of pride in being here, so that's something we want to maintain, is that accessibility and transparency for the board and the public. Little segue here about this room. Those new to the board won't be aware of this, but a year ago, this room was set up different. We made a move a few months ago to kind of reorganize. The setup was the COVID setup, where everything was socially distanced. Prior to COVID, it was more like this. Then during the meetings, we put it back into the horseshoe. And there's kind of a specific reason for that, is that when you're meeting as the board, the debate, the engagement is amongst yourselves. You can invite the public to have some public comment at the beginning. You can ask staff to be involved and provide information, but really it's to create a dialogue amongst the board. Especially in this setup, you're addressing the chair. Really not supposed to be addressing other members. During committee meetings, especially though, the horseshoe is intended to create an environment where you're debating amongst yourselves and making that productive. Ideally around the horseshoe, definitely the committee, how you want to lay that out can be up to the chair. Generally, we want to see the recording clerk sitting at the table and then any key staff, usually the department heads. And then if there's public, you invite them into the conversation. But with the way we had the meetings set up before with chairs, you might have a couple board members and some public and a department head, kind of not a real cohesive meeting. So that's one of the reasons I just wanted to highlight the setup is somewhat important, just to make sure that it's your meeting as the board or as the committee. And it's the committee chair's job to run that meeting efficiently. County administrator. So it's my job to run the day-to-day of the county under the policies adopted by the board. A lot of the duties of a county administrator are specifically identified in statute in Chapter 5918. Work with the board and the supervisors to develop policies. Lots of times those work their way up from maybe a need that the board identifies or the committee. Work with staff to formulate it, bring it back for consideration, any amendments, and then it moves its way to the full board. Part of my role is to review draft agendas to make sure committees are focused on policy and department heads are making good use of the committee's time. A lot of it, when needed, we draw back to the strategic plan, the why. Why are we doing this, or why are we changing this? Ideally, you want to tie a lot of that back to the strategic goals of the county. Make sure that laws and policies approved by the board are being equitably enforced and implemented throughout the county. We are responsible for the oversight of performance and administration of economic development activities. We have an economic development policy on the books that talks about the county administrator is the point person for the county, along with a shared role, so to speak, with the executive director of the CEDC, the Development Corporation. We fund a large portion of the Development Corporation. I mean, they're a separate entity from us, but really we're joined at the hip. So we need to be synchronized with them. And I'll just tell you that from my time and having some background on that, the business side, they don't want to deal with multiple people or having to go ask. So like right now, interest in the industrial park or expansions, I just refer to Charlie. I mean, he keeps me informed of what's going on, but he's our designated point of contact for the most part on the day-to-day basis. Prepare the annual budget, like I'd mentioned, and then submit it to the board for approval in the fall. You have the ability to amend, adjust the budget. But a lot of times we're going to present as administration a budget that meets the goals. It's going to be balanced when we give it to you. So if there's changes, then we have to think about add an expense. Where's the revenue going to come from, or where are we going to cut an expense to keep that balance? But there is that ability to do so. As administrator, my job is to make sure we're doing evaluations and monitoring the performance of the employees. So the department heads conduct that within the department. I make sure they're doing that with HR staff. And then ultimately, I also monitor the performance of the department heads. And then I work with the executive committee on goals and performance measures for myself for the year. Department descriptions, those are available for you on the portal. Every department should have updated their description for the next board cycle here. You can find that information there. I also expect when you get on your committees, the departments are going to do some work of orientating you to what's going on, current issues, what their role within the county is, what services, programs they're delivering to get you up to speed with each of those committees. So like I said, the executive committee, I believe December, January, does an evaluation of the administrator, and then set goals for the upcoming year. So in here are my goals set by the committee for 26. Some of these are just continuations because they're priorities like economic development, marketing the industrial park space, but just in general, ensuring that we have an economic development program that's trying to improve the well-being of the county. A budget, focus on long-range needs and updating the strategic plan to fit the budget priorities. Courthouse security, that's ongoing. Continuing to assess our security of the facilities and our employees. Community relations, so that's engaging. My job is to be out there as a face of the county and partnering up with organizations or businesses that are looking for to help reach our county mission. And then somewhat a new one this year is work to improve health services in the county. Part of that stems to the EMS ad hoc committee and some needs there. Part of that comes from the loss of the hospital when HSHS left, and now we'll get to it in the next slide about the potential cooperative hospital that's starting out at the St. Joe's facility. But in a broader sense, it's about our employee health. We are self-insured. That's an important part of our county budget. So we want to have a healthy workforce and control our healthcare costs. Then in general, what you'll hear about when we talk about the cooperative hospital in the future and community health in general is we live in an area that has good healthcare. We also have some of the most expensive healthcare in the country, which is not great from an economic perspective. If you're a small business owner or work for companies, you probably hear constantly how difficult it is to maintain health insurance or health benefits for employees because of the cost. Update on the cooperative hospital. This is kind of the outcomes of the HSHS closing Sacred Heart in Eau Claire and St. Joe's in Chippewa. If you were involved at that time, there were a lot of meetings about what are we going to do? Why is this happening? How do we replace healthcare? One of the things that came out from it, well, there's a couple of things I'll note in here. One is direct impact to Chippewa County government operations was the morgue, where the coroner facilities were in St. Joe's Hospital. When they closed, that was lost. There had to be some immediate effort to replace that. We did that by essentially partnering up with some funeral homes that had that space available. And so that was, the immediate need was addressed, but the long-term need was still there. What are we going to do for a morgue? So the county set aside some monies to construct, acquire a morgue. And then also a congressional spending request was submitted through Congressman Van Orden's office for additional funds to accomplish that. So we have the money set aside. We also were awarded it took a couple rounds, but the congressional request was fulfilled. So you saw the announcement or the media that the congressman did. So that money is coming. At this point, we don't have the money. We don't even have the details of how we can access that money, but there's a potential solution there. In the meantime, the cooperative acquired the hospital facility, allowed us to go back in there as of last fall and use the morgue with no cost. We have a written agreement where we have access to that space, and they're maintaining it, and it's not costing us anything. So at least that immediate need from the hospital closure, we have some options. The cooperative as well is trying to restart hospital facilities here in Chippewa Falls. If you follow that, they have long-term plans to build a new facility, but in the interim, they're trying to reopen St. Joe's. They started with infusions last fall. It's essentially a cancer center. And then I just saw today the news that they have opened up a wound care in that facility. So they are slowly ramping themselves up. They did come to the county in the fall, early winter, and asked for the county to consider a $10 million pass-through loan. They want us to facilitate a loan from the state trust fund loan that would be made to Chippewa County. We relend it to the cooperative that they can use for startup expenses. That question we're still working on, or at some point we have to bring that back to the board. The cooperative, you probably will see them here in the next month or two to present that request to the full board, answer questions. Administration, I've been working on it to kind of pull together more information to help you make a decision. That does, there is risk with that. If they default, we have to pay off the loan. We funded, we being the county, in 2024 approved, I can't remember, $70,000? Thank you. To help them do a feasibility study. So they have that feasibility study. Getting access to it has been a question. I think we're at a point where we will. I have no doubt that the feasibility study is going to tell you that they can serve a $10 million loan. But it's a feasibility study. It's what shows on paper. So I guess I'm just giving you the preview that you're going to have this back in front of you in some sense in the next couple months, and they're looking for us as a county to make a decision. They had also asked Eau Claire County for a $10 million pass-through loan, effectively $20 million total. Eau Claire is not moving on theirs. They are waiting to see what we do. So, I think county morgue gave you most of that. So right now, just within administration, we're at the point of assessing what to do to bring something back to the executive committee and ultimately to the board. The original plan that was submitted with the congressional directed spending request was to take a portion of our maintenance building, which is kitty corner from the jail to the east, and take half of that or so and remodel that into a morgue. And then build another building and a lot kind of across the street that would replace the maintenance shop. So we're looking at to see how feasible it is. There was not real detailed plans drawn up, but other options are purchasing another building and refurbishing it. We're looking at buildings that maybe already have cooler freezer space in them, or something that would be similar, so we don't have to remodel a building and then build a new one. We can just keep the one we have. Continuing on with the cooperative and the St. Joe's facility is an option. I mean, we're using that now. It's not costing us anything. They maintain it. That's a good deal for us. But that's also tied to that facility continue to operate. Or if they do build a new hospital, do we have access to the morgue in the new hospital? So the Congressman Van Orden's office has kind of said the money is only tied to us having a secure morgue for the long term. How we get there, we have some options. So we're still actually just restarted looking at the options here in the last couple of weeks. Rogers Behavioral Health. This started about a year ago when they were putting together the state budget. Senator James and a contingent of local lawmakers were able to work in a budget request for $10 million to facilitate a new mental health hospital in the Chippewa Valley. They had identified Rogers Behavioral Health as the entity to work with. Rogers had actually come to town prior to that at the request of the cooperative, the health cooperative, because they knew mental health was a need, but they didn't want to operate it. So Rogers had an initial look at Chippewa Falls and Chippewa County before this all happened. But once the $10 million was approved in the budget, that really pushed everything ahead. So we met with them, I think it was May or June of last year, looked at a site that the county owned, the old former school property, as they called it, on Highway 178, south of the Wissota Green Development, kitty corner from Lake Wissota Business Park. And county approved a sale to them, approved a sale of 18.9 acres to them for $500,000. Rogers secured the $10 million in state funding, and all things are green lit right now. It's gone through the city plan commission a couple times. There's a design, and there's a groundbreaking. So if you didn't see your email, everybody in here is invited to the groundbreaking next week, next Thursday, April 30th at 4:30 at the Rogers Health site. You're going to enter off of Beach Drive, the north entrance there. There'll be a driveway and a tent in the field to participate in the groundbreaking. So that's a big benefit. I mean, yes, it's 100 jobs. Yes, it's a new development. The contractors will get work out of it. Won't be any tax revenue because it's tax exempt property because it's a hospital. But the other upside is just it fulfills a big need for mental health beds in the community. Right now, you know, if you have that need, or especially from a human services standpoint, when we have individuals that we're getting a mental commitment on, there's a few beds at Mayo and Eau Claire that are usually filled. If you can secure one of those, great. Otherwise, you're traveling a couple hours to Marshfield or further for that mental commitment. And so having that access here locally will be a big benefit to our law enforcement. It should reduce our transportation costs of getting those people to facilities. It's not really going to reduce the cost of the stay. The bed is the cost of the bed, whether it's here or elsewhere. But it should be a big benefit not tying up our law enforcement. And I would say the other thing that has been pointed out is having those beds here in the community where you have that support system of family will be a big benefit rather than being 2, 3, 4 hours away where we don't have local contacts. Lake Wissota Reserve Boat Landing, this came up in the fall where the Rod and Gun was not going to re-up their lease with Xcel Energy. They approached us in part because we're in the business of operating recreational assets, and we already have an existing relationship with Xcel at Pine Point Park in Holcomb. And so the board approved in March a lease agreement with Xcel. It's effectively a year-to-year lease where we're going to operate the Rod and Gun. All these things kind of drive together. This thing work? Yeah. Yeah, because the Rogers site is just to there's Rogers. There's what was the Rod and Gun landing that we have renamed the Lake Wissota Reserve Boat Landing, because this property down here is owned by the county and is referred to as the reserve property. That's where there's a number of hiking trails and bike trails. So it's going to work out well. We've already signed the lease. We're taking payments. We're marketing the daily and seasonal passes. Docs are in. And at least the initial comments I've seen online have been positive about the county taking on that operation. Large assembly ordinance, this is just a preview of coming attractions. The county has a couple things coming up. One will be, we amended the ordinance in March for the large assembly to put in some additional contingencies, or kind of change the requirements for security and how that's handled, as well as an appeal process for large assembly permit holders to appeal any costs. So we have to amend the contracts with the large assembly organizers who have contracts with the county to incorporate the new ordinance language. So you'll see a contract, most likely in May, at least for Chippewa Valley Music Festivals, to incorporate the new language, as well as I think the event organizers are going to ask for some agreement different than what we have. You know, the debate was the double time and a half that we have in our union contract. I expect that you're going to hear that from the event organizers, that they'd like to not pay double time. So that contract is coming, but over the long term for this summer, we're working on amending the large assembly ordinance, or amending it to bring back to the board to streamline some of the things that are in there. I think large assemblies, kind of a year-to-year. Ideally, they're year-to-year permits, but obviously we've got at least one grounds that's been in this business for 40 years. So maybe we should take a look at a different way of permitting them rather than a year-to-year permit. So that should be coming back guess, late summer, fall, when a proposed ordinance may make it to executive committee to bring to the board. EMS Ad Hoc Study Committee, like I mentioned, they're in the midst of their work, looking at solutions to ambulance service in the county. We've got some paid 24/7 operations like Chippewa Falls and the Chippewa Fire Protection District. And we have a few local services that are primarily volunteers or per diem pay that struggle to maintain staffing. So that group is looking at countywide solutions. We are, I would say, the convener, the organizer of the ad hoc to kind of facilitate the conversation. By statute, we're not required as a county to provide 911 service. That is a responsibility of the municipality. Could the county be part of the solution? We could, but we're going to let the ad hoc study group kind of look at the options, facilitate some recommendations, because the recommendations aren't going to be just to Chippewa County as county government. There'll be recommendations that all of the communities should be taking a look at to improve the EMS coverage and sustainability in the county. Opioid litigation, that's kind of winding, the litigation side is winding down. Counties, along with the state, back in 2017, started pursuing litigation against the manufacturers of opioids because of the cost it was causing in human services and law enforcement. That litigation went from not just the manufacturers, but to the distributors, the retailers. So as those cases are settled, there's money coming into the counties that we have the ability to use according to the settlement agreements, what we call Schedule E. And so there's, I think, just a few more smaller settlements that sound like they're still coming. But you can kind of read the framework in there in the agreement. Roughly, we're bringing in $200,000 plus in annual payments from all those settlements, and we're not spending them right away. We're what we take in 26 won't be budgeted until 28. So we're kind of spending it as we go, and we have a process that's been approved by the board and how that money gets allocated within county operations. New business park, Lake Wissota Business Park, was originally the county farm. I don't remember how long ago it was, 15 years, 20 years maybe now. The county decided to redevelop that into an industrial park and then some housing. And that park sat for a little bit. The housing development struggled, but eventually it took off. So now we're starting to fill up Lake Wissota. So the county since 2018 has been looking at, okay, what are we going to do when this fills up? If we hadn't had the county farm, would we be in the business of an industrial park? Maybe, probably not. It made it a lot easier. So now the county board has been supporting, though, looking for the next Lake Wissota Business Park and where is that going to be located, how it will operate. And so this kind of gives you the timeline. I expect you'll see something this year on a new site or what it's going to cost to develop the next park, and how many acres and all those things. I'm not going to go into too much detail because Charlie Walker will be here on Thursday to give you a presentation on economic development. He'll talk about the product or the inventory, and this is what he's talking about is our land. If we don't have land available to market and site new businesses, it makes it that much harder for us to attract new businesses to this area. This kind of goes through the timeline. That's the picture of the park. The kind of brighter lime colored parcels, there's a couple that have been sold since then, but that's what's available. Now you'd say there's a fair number of parcels that are still available, but if you look at the size of some of the developments that have already happened out there, we're 1 or 2 projects away from not having any land because most of the projects that have located there are taking up multiple 10 acres, 15 acres, 20 acres at a time. So down here you have the kind of the medical buildings, smaller parcels. There's a couple there. We got a big parcel there. Mason Shoe, Fleet Farm, HPE. So we just have these kind of parcels scattered in this area that are still available, but really that size, there's a whole market of projects that we're just not a player in because we don't have the large parcels anymore. It's a little bit another depiction of that layout there. And in this picture, the yellow sites are the ones that are available, except for Rogers in the corner has been sold now. Housing Authority, all I'll say about that is there's a housing authority, they're in this building. They are a separate entity from the county. We've contracted with them to operate some of the funds that we've brought in as a county. They also pursue their own funding to do rental properties, generally low, moderate income. Also, they administer the voucher program for the county. But I won't get into too much detail. We do appoint a couple members to their board. They operate independent of the county. Very good housing authority. But just want to maybe highlight that they are separate from Chippewa County government. We do support a number of outside agencies, and you'll see this during the budget process. I'll just zip through these. The CEDC, you'll hear about them on Thursday. That's our partner for economic development. We provide $195,000 of operating funds to them annually. I should say all of these, we have either an MOU or a contract with. We just hand out money. Usually they're fee for service, like we provide them support. We have a contract that itemizes the things they do for us, or an MOU. Same thing with the Chippewa County Tourism Council. We provide funding. We appoint a member to their board, and we have a contract that itemizes the services they are to provide it for that funding. Chippewa Valley Regional Airport. The airport is in Chippewa County, but it is actually owned by this Eau Claire County, and it's operated by a joint commission made up of Chippewa County appointees and Eau Claire County appointees. And so we provide some funding to them annually. It's out of our sales tax funds, and it can only be used for debt service and capital projects at the Travel Northwest Wisconsin was from ITBEC. It's a regional tourism consortium. We provide $3,000, and we appoint the county board chairs an appointment of the overall organization, and the Chippewa County Tourism Director serves as a member of the tourism committee. That's where we get most of our value out of it, is in the tourism side. Northern Wisconsin State Fair, we allocate $54,000 plus in-kind services. Primarily, it's been IT support. We have access to grounds for events or emergency events. It's a staging area, that type of thing. We provide the funding too, I would say, because in most counties, the county actually operates the fair, or an organization supports 4-H to operate the fair. We provide that funding, and the Northern Wisconsin State Fair does that. They support the youth events and the livestock shows and art exhibits, things that the youth participate in lieu of the county having to do that. Wisconsin County Association, Sarah will be here on Thursday. This is your resource as a board member to attend conferences, webinars. There'll be what they call the COWS workshops coming up that you can participate in, learn about being a part of the board, and that's facilitated through WCA. But I'll just leave it at that. We are a member, as are, I think, all the counties in the state now. There'll be a fall conference. There might be one or two counties kind of.
Lucky isn't for sure.
Yeah, are they not?
I think Dane isn't now either.
Yeah. Sometimes they get too big for their britches and want to go elsewhere. But yeah, it's a great resource. That's where we work on legislation together. Kind of they coordinate that with other counties. There's a legislative agenda that we can submit items to be acted on at the business meeting. So you'll learn about more of that. You'll get the monthly magazine that provides a lot of background for you on different topics that affect county government. WESCAP is a community action agency providing services to the public. Hand ups to help individuals who maybe are struggling with energy assistance, weatherization, housing, those types of things. Generally, they use a lot of federal funding, and we provide a little bit to be a part of that. Human Services refers a lot of our clients to WESCAP for services. West Central Regional Planning, federally designated entity made up of a number of counties. They just helped, we contracted with them to do it, but they just completed the county comprehensive plan. They administer the Metropolitan Planning Organization, Loan Fund Administration, just another kind of aggregate for counties to have a central point to get some of these services that wouldn't be very cost effective for us to handle on our own. We pay a membership fee of $45,000 to be a part of that. And then the last slide here, I just wanted to put some things kind of on the radar. Things I see coming up that you'll be hearing or seeing about that probably will make it to the floor here at some point. Operationally, the state adopted some actual court decisions. There's been state statutes amendments on how counties handle tax deed properties. To do that, we need to amend our own ordinances. There's provisions now on when we take a property, how long we have to sell it, how we sell it, where the funds can go. So we need to do that. What that's also is going to mean a little bit bigger impact here is that Chippewa County had their own way for years of handling tax deed properties and kind of A parcel, B parcels, and who manages these and hanging on to some of them. That probably is all going to go away. So I expect you'll see policy and ordinance proposals within the next couple months. We need to get going on it. We haven't taken properties in a few years, so we need to amend our ordinances to be able to do that. I mentioned the strategic plan update. Legislative items, the county did pass a resolution a couple months ago on sustainable highway funding. The highway committee has been engaged in a conversation on what are we going to do to maintain our infrastructure, our roads and bridges. We're not touching some roads for 30 to 40 years or really overhauling them. Well, the roads have worn out by then. So we're just not spending enough to keep up on the maintenance and replacement of those roads. Pretty much all counties are in that same boat. So the conversation is how are we going to generate additional funding, or I should say, do we want to? And what are the ways we can do that? Chippewa County has advocated before for an additional 0.5% sales tax. That's currently we're not able to do that without changes at the state level to do that. So I think that conversation is just going to continue, and we're going to have to look through the options and decide what we want to do. Inland Port Authority, that's tied to a new business park. How would we operate it? With the new business park, right now we own Lake Wissota Business Park. The next business park probably would be wise for us to have a partnership with potentially the city of Chippewa Falls. So how does that get structured? So we have kind of a shared management and shared risk and shared benefit. And then just in general, adopting a legislative agenda here that we can advocate at the state level. This is an example. Last year, Supervisor Lotz was on the Utility Tax Association that was lobbying for some legislative changes. She called up and said, hey, they're lobbying for this. Can I go ahead and put my letter of support in? We don't have anything at the present where the county's adopted a policy on advocating for legislative issues. So I think if we adopted our own legislative agenda, we'd have some ground for you to be able to go do that on your own and support with the county. On the development side, data centers, solar projects, power generation, battery energy storage systems. Right now, there's nothing that I know of concrete where any of those are planning to set up shop in Chippewa County. It's when, not if. I mean, it's just, they're happening in other locations. We hear rumors of these things circulating. But I think none of these might end up in areas where the county has jurisdiction. A lot of them are located inside municipal boundaries and city boundaries because of power and water and those types of zoning. But I just think at some point, we're going to be dealing with these. So that'll be battery energy storage systems. If you're not familiar with those, basically it's on the small level, more people in their homes are putting battery packs in so they can do like arbitrage. You can load up your batteries when the power is cheap and then use the power when the power gets more expensive, or where there's brownouts, you have battery storage. On the large scale, there's battery farms, and utility companies are starting to invest in these battery farms that are strategically located across the state. And so they do the same thing. Like when power is expensive to generate and maintain, they pull it off the batteries. When the power is cheap, they load up the batteries. Companies, instead of having generators, are going to have batteries, so that when the power, same thing, is expensive or not available, they have battery backup. So I just, new technology, and it's not so much the battery technology, it's the technology to run the batteries that is really accelerating and making that more feasible. And the last thing you're going to hear about potentially or have heard in the news is Blue Zones. This is a private industry-led initiative about community health. We've been tied into it partly because it's multi-county. It started with Eau Claire, done in Chippewa. There's some meetings happening this month and at the end of this month related to Blue Zones. And we're tied in because we have a public health department. They want to tie in with our public health, but also we're one of the largest employers in Chippewa County, and we're self-insured. So our employee health will be a part of this, and it's really about making the community healthier and lowering healthcare costs for private industry and small businesses. So those are what I think's on the radar, not the whole list, but the high-level list.
Supervisor Gehring.
Question.
Yep.
So I was speaking to one of the charter members of the hospital consortium the other day, and that person mentioned that it's likely that they're not going to be building the next 5 to 8 years before they will build. Is there any reason why we can't be having a discussion with them about moving the morgue back there?
We are. I mean, the morgue is there. The morgue is in the hospital, and it can stay there as long as they're operating that
All right.
facility.
Talked about some other options, and I didn't want to.
And the reason we're looking at the other options is the long-term security. Like I'll just say, if the co-op hospital doesn't move ahead and they fold up, who do we have? Do we have access to that facility?
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we're looking. And if we didn't have the $600,000 coming in that federally designated appropriation, we probably would just continue to use that morgue. But that $600,000 from the feds it's going to have a life like a timeline on it. Either we use it or we lose it.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Hennick.
Mr. Alvarado, on the $10 million that they want to borrow, by next meeting, next month's meeting, not this month, could you have a down to the penny what it costs the taxpayer answer for that? Is that reasonable?
I mean, I can calculate the cost of borrowing, but
What's the borrowing?
they're going to present this to you that it will cost the taxpayers nothing because they are going to pay the loan off. They're going to service it. Now, if you want the number of what it would cost the taxpayers if they don't pay it off, I can give you that.
That's what I'd like to know.
Yep.
If they don't pay it off, what does it cost the taxpayer for County?
Yep, that I can do.
Sometime in the future. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll jump into Finance Division. Ms. Symington, you are up.
All right. You did talk fast, it was long. All right, I am Leah Symington. I am the current finance director. I have been here less than a year, almost there, a couple more months, and I will hit that milestone. So I'll just start off by, okay, so our finance team. So about 2009, Chippewa County transitioned into a centralized finance structure. So before that, the finance teams that are located, or the finance individuals that are located in different departments reported to that department head. So we have currently an employee in public health. Instead of reporting to finance, that finance individual reported to public health director. Not a good line, as it kind of makes it a little bit more difficult when they have questions because a public health or human services director, facilities director doesn't really have the finance background. So they switched that over to report to finance manager and then ultimately myself. So our team consists of 13 employees. We have 3 of us that are in the central finance, which is in the DOA or Department of Administration suite. And then we have 6 employees that are in the human services area, so just down the hall here. And then we have 1 in public health, 1 in highway, 1 in LCFM, and then 1 in the sheriff's office. So I'm primarily going to talk about our budget process. I will be a little brief on this. We will go into more further detail in the next couple of months. So Chippewa County has a condensed annual budget process. We start in May with a presentation to the county board, so next month. And then at your policy committee meetings in June and July, you will be reviewing the department head requested budgets. And then in September, county administrator will be sharing with you a preliminary look at the levy for each department. In October, the budget is presented in its entirety to the executive committee. November, there'll be 2 county board meetings. The first meeting is held held on Thursday of the first month, and this is the budget hearing meeting. At this meeting, the citizens will have an opportunity to voice their opinions on the budget that has been presented by the county administrator. The following meeting, or the next meeting, will be the following Tuesday. And at this meeting is where there will be a tax levy resolution adopted by the board based on Thursday's meeting. And more information will come on this. Okay. So on the left, you will see the total 2026 budget by function. And I'll get to that in a minute. And then on the right, you will see the total 2026 levy amount. So each function, so the public safety function includes Sheriff's Department, Emergency Management, and the coroner. Conservation Development includes land conservation, forest management, planning and zoning, and parks. Transportation is highway. UW Extension is UW Extension. Health and Social Services is human services, public health, and veterans. And then general government is everybody not mentioned. So that includes county board, T facilities. So on this slide is the 2026 revenue sources. So you see there are multiple revenue sources. It's not just property tax levy. So most of it is actually made up by grants and federal and state aids. That's the gray area down there. And then you'll see property tax is actually 18% of our total budget. And here are the breakout of the 2026 expenses. The orange, gray, and yellow areas are actually make up 38%, which is the employee wages and benefits. And the other is operational costs. So sales tax. So the way Chippewa County handles sales tax is a little different. I think it touched on this a little bit. But the sales tax that we earn in the current year is not spent until 2 years later. So what we earn in 2026, we will then spend and budget for in 2028. This helps us plan with the budgeting, and we know exactly what's going to be able to be spent in the upcoming years, and it goes through the whole budget process. Sales tax dollars are primarily used for capital projects. Some little information on the side there. Okay, so here we have a snapshot of historical data of our levy limits, equalized valuations, and tax rates. So you can see we've been very fortunate that we have had really good equalized valuations, which allows our tax rates to decrease. So they've been decreasing for at least the last 5 years. That means that there has been growth within Chippewa County. And if you are all interested, the 2026 budget is posted on the county website under the finance page. Next, the capital improvement program, or I call it CIP, other people call it CIP, same thing. So this policy was created in 2012. Is to qualify as a CIP project or capital improvement program project. It means to be more than $50,000 and have a useful life of 3 years or extend the life of an existing asset. In June of each year, the county administrator will present a 5-year plan for your approval, and then you will really be approving the spend for the upcoming year. So we will approve the full plan. The first year is what we are actually going to be spending. So this year, we will be, you guys will be approving the full 5-year plan. The spend will only be for 2027. The years 2 through 5 really help us in future planning needs, and we can shift things around as funding is available and priority needs. It's really important for us to have this 5-year KIP plan as it is one of the criteria that the bond rating companies use to evaluate us. And here's the full timeline for the KIP process. The departments have submitted their KIP request in March to the committees. for 2027. So we are currently reviewing and processing those requests, and they're requesting any additional information from the department heads if needed. So in June, County Administrator will be presenting the 2027 to 2031 KIP plan for your approval. And here is a list of the approved 2026 projects. So this is what we are currently working on. Okay, bonding. So we're going to give, this is a very brief slide about our bonding process. We'll be presenting an overview of the whole process coming up in June. So we currently have a AA1 bond rating, which is the second highest rating that we could get. It is very important to have a good rating, as this helps reduce our interest rates, and when we go out to bond, it makes it less risky for those purchasing those bonds. And our goal is to bond every 2 years for 2 years. So we'll take out an example, $6 million in year 1, and we spend that in year 2 and 3. So we keep that cycle, so we kind of divide it out, and this also helps maintain a regular flat borrowing and for our projects so that we can plan those appropriately. Baird is our bond underwriter, and Quarles and Brady serves as bond counsel. The initial resolution will come to the county board in June to start off this bonding process for 2020. Now, this is just a preliminary draft. This is nothing that's been set in stone or anything. This is a plan. We do try to keep things planned out for multiple years, just for purposes of getting the projects and everything in line so we know what's coming up, and we don't have a whole lot of surprises. So you will all approve this plan. So if there's anything that needs to be changed, we will be going through this process in June. And here's a tentative timeline for 2026. So we start the process in June, and then the bonds are typically awarded in September. And finally, I have the opioid slide. Andy went over this a little bit, so I will keep this one very brief. So here's a list of our main settlement, the vendors that we get the settlements from. In this, we operate, again, similar to sales tax, where we receive the money in year 1, and then we wait for 2 years and put that through the budgeting process, so that we know exactly what we have to spend. So this will be coming to you guys in the near future. That is all I have. Kept it quick.
What questions do we have? Supervisor Guthman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wondering, there was a comment about the need to provide a report on the opioid settlement funding.
Yep.
So how does that work if we get that funding, but we're not necessarily spending it yet for a year or 2? How does that work?
So that has been submitted. You submitted that the other day. So that's all been submitted. And so we just have to submit what we received and what we're spending. They know we're not going to spend all the money in 1 year. And this money comes in every single year. So we can just spend as approved. And so we have a plan and a policy on it. So as long as we're following our policy and we're spending it appropriately, then we're okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Supervisor Hennick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have questions that you probably can't answer, but I would like to be thought about for the future.
Sure.
You say we can't sustain our roads. That's a given. What's possible solutions? Somewhere down the road, I'd like to have that discussion. 2, is there any discussion about going back to gravel? And 3, Highway M Bridge. We're going to take care of that. I don't want to be on this board if we drop a bus through that bridge. I do not want to be there.
I think those are all things that the Highway Committee is actually in conversations about, and we do have some plans for the Bridge, and I know they have been reporting on that. So
this is future. I'm not asking for answers now, but how can we increase our money? We don't have enough money for the road. Big county, not enough businesses. I know that. where are we gonna be making those decisions? Are we gonna gravel it? Are we gonna discontinue it? Are we gonna increase the cost? And then there's a second question I have that I wasn't able to get earlier. Well, I'll just leave it alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing we have hit the 9 o'clock hour. The clerk's presentation is not what I would call a short one, and it does have an incredibly important topics in there for just general function of county board supervisors. It's not an action item, so we don't need emotions, but there are any objections if we hear her presentation on Thursday night versus tonight? Wonderful. Thank you for that. We are now at agenda items for future consideration. Please get those to myself, the administrator. Oh, sorry.
So I have a question about agenda item.
Yes.
Partially for corp counsel.
Okay.
So we had a public speaker tonight. It's not the first time he's been here. And I'm wondering if there's some way that we could, I don't know which departments are involved here, but could we get a response from those departments so we get both sides of the story?
He has already filed an action.
Oh, so that makes it delicate, I understand.
So we are doing something that we want to do in open session. I need to think about that a little bit.
Okay.
And I can certainly.
That's fine.
We can keep it on the radar. Sure. All right, then we are to agenda item number 12.
Erickson will make a motion to adjourn.
Russell second.
All right. We'll just do a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
That was.
See you Thursday night. I love the enthusiasm on that one, guys.
Russell second.
9 o'clock tomorrow.
AM zone restart.
You can talk.